What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, my name's Uncle Reddit, and this is r/Tales from Tech Support, Camping Edition. Occasionally you're going to hear some disturbing noises. That's the rest of my family sitting over here playing a pretty violent game of bananagrams, and sorry for the laggy camera. I'm not sure how it's going to come out when I edit, we're out in the wild using hotspot Wi-Fi, so what do you want to do? Alright, let's get into it. Users lying is one thing, but colleagues in IT lying? Where I work, I can't really complain about users. They do some silly things, but most are fully aware of their computer illiteracy and come to us before breaking things further. It creates more work for my team, but that additional work keeps my team in their jobs. Meaning I can stay away from support and focus on system administration, engineering, integration and automation, vendor relations. If anything, by far the worst person I have to deal with is a member of my team. Or had to deal with, I should say. Prior to working for the company, this person claimed to be a full-stack .NET developer, but wanted to move into system administration and engineering, so took a job in IT support. This didn't make sense to me until a few months later when I realized the full-stack .NET developer thing was likely a lie. They had taken a look at a PowerShell script I was writing and asked me what a for loop was and didn't recognize a .NET ArrayList class. But that's another story, and I'll refer to this person as Full Stack from now on. Maybe 6 months into Full Stack's time with the company, I sent an email out to the department to say that I had automated an administrative task that was previously performed manually, so they wouldn't need to keep coming to my team with related requests. After I sent the email, Full Stack came over to me and said, "That looks more interesting than what I do. Can I learn to do it too?" I said, "Sure, PowerShell is an invaluable tool in your line of work. If you have any questions about it, I'll gladly answer them." I also told them that their experience with .NET would give them a head start. Of course, I strongly believe that their experience with .NET was a fabrication, but maybe I could have been wrong. Full Stack then asked me if they could take the day off each week to learn PowerShell. I said no. I explained that they should be able to learn PowerShell on the job and suggested that whenever they did something manually, find out afterwards how they could have performed the task using PowerShell. Then evaluate whether it would have been faster to have initially performed the task using PowerShell so they knew whether or not they should solve the issue next time manually or with PowerShell. This was how I learned PowerShell, and it's how many people I know learn it too. I've always been of the opinion that you learn faster through applying than studying the theory, and while there's a place for studying theory in your learning journey, nay, it's essential. But studying theory and applying practically should be done side by side, and there were plenty of opportunities for Full Stack to apply PowerShell to his daily work. So I set some ground rules. Get CMD-lets are fine. Set, disable, remove, and the like should be used with caution. Test with a what-if flag before you use any of these. If you're making a change on a system like AD or Exchange, rather than a client endpoint, check with me before running anything other than a get CMD-let. These rules were sent to Full Stack by email, and I asked them to reply to the email to confirm they understood them. Given I was ultimately responsible for anything Full Stack did, I had to cover myself. And these things seemed to go well at first. Full Stack came to me excited when they realized they could query whether an account was locked or when a password was last changed using get_add_user. I suggested they write a script that prompts the operator to enter a username using read host, and then passes this into get_add_user CMD-let, so they didn't need to manually type it out in the console every time. Then we had an issue with the internal Wi-Fi adapters on some laptops randomly disabling themselves, and Full Stack showed me how they could open a PowerShell console as administrator and use get_NAT_adapter and then enable NetAdapter to fix the issue without having to log the user out and then log in as admin to do it. Good job, Full Stack. I knew you could do this already, but figured I'd give Full Stack this little victory. But then a few weeks later, Full Stack deleted around 50 computer objects from Active Directory while I was on lunch. As I had been on lunch, the issue had been escalated to the server team, and my manager had gotten involved. We were incredibly fortunate that it happened on this particular week, not the previous one, as the Active Directory recycle bin had only just been enabled. During the post-mortem, it was discovered what they had done. It turned out they had used, double equal sign in an if statement instead of the -eq, so the conditional statement always resolved as true. It appears as though Full Stack never ran the script with what if to see which computers would be deleted, and as Full Stack was running a CMD-let against Active Directory rather than a client endpoint, they should have checked with me before running it anyway. A small meeting was held between me and my manager and the head of the server team, and Full Stack. When quizzed about why they hadn't used what if, or checked with anyone before running the script, Fullstack claimed they were never told about What If, and that I had never told them they needed to check with me before running CMDlets against AD. The eyes in the room turned to me as I went through my email to find the rules I had set that Fullstack had acknowledged. I sent the forwarded email to the participants of the meeting. Fullstack tried to make excuses that I hadn't explained it properly, etc. And so we asked Fullstack to leave the room. Me and my manager had originally agreed before the meeting that we would likely give Fullstack a light slap on the wrist. The mistake occurred over lunch. The impact to end users was minimal. We all make mistakes, etc. And we didn't want to discourage their journey on the path of PowerShell, but we also didn't want the same mistakes happening again. But when Fullstack decided to lie instead of accepting their mistake, they received a written warning for this incident, and we banned them from using PowerShell against AD after that. And unfortunately, as Fullstack had only been hired on a 1-year contract, and there were 3 months until it was up, we decided to not extend it when the contract came to an end. There were obviously other contributors to this decision, but this one is probably the one that sealed Fullstack's fate. Yeah, if you're going to make a mistake, you're better off just owning it. You might still get in trouble, heck, you might still get fired, but if you own it, at least you stand a better chance of not looking like a total D-bag, and people will learn to trust you a little more. Disasters come in threes, or how not to install solar panels on a public building. I acknowledge that the following series of events are not all entirely tech support, but it was entertaining watching them from such a position. It's 9 a.m. on a sunny Monday morning. The mood is jovial as the majority of the staff are out and there's a 4-day weekend coming up. The workload is relatively light, with the majority of the tasks ahead revolving around the new CCTV system being installed around the building. Much of that is being done by contractors, so my workload for the next 3 days is largely configuring networks and patching cables. There's other work going on site, including the installation of solar panels funded by one of the government's green schemes. The installation of such solar panels has so far gone smoothly. I'm not exactly in the mood for rushing around at this time of the morning. The kettle's on, the coffee's brewing, and I'm planning the day's workload and performing research on r/talesfromtechsupport. Suddenly there's a crackle on the radio. "King Boss, can you come out here a second? We've got an incident at the rear of the loading bay." My boss, King Boss, and myself, because I'm nosy, come outside and investigate the issue. Outside is a forklift truck. A lot of men in high-vis jackets scratching their heads, and a significant amount of masonry piled on the floor where no masonry should be. Reviewing the CCTV, it was clear what had happened. The forklift driver had his forks lowered too far down, and had clipped the corner of our store cupboard. His spotters were caught in plain sight, doing everything but spotting, and the forklift driver had just plowed into the building unaware of the position of his forks. Thankfully, it was just a store cupboard and not another part of the building, and their insurance would cover it. I spend the rest of the week patching cables and configuring networks. Until Wednesday afternoon, 15:45. Because it's always last thing on the last day of the week, a crackle comes across the radio. "King Boss, can you come out the back building? Another incident's occurred." This one's a doozy. As the contractors are lifting the panels to the roof of the multi-story building, the rigging holding them together gave way, and 8 solar panels came crashing down. Scarily, these narrowly missed the foreman, who was quite shaken up. Sadly, while this area would have great CCTV coverage, in a week's time, it wasn't currently configured on the server end, and we missed the calamity. The contractors tried to play it off as a casual mistake, but 2 incidents in a week is just shocking, especially because they tried to cover it up and didn't report it. Suffice to say, the insurance premiums for these contractors are likely going up. We later sacked them as a contractor and refused to let them on site, a great way to finish the 3-day week. It's a week later and it's time to plug these babies into the grid. This isn't as simple as plug it in and switch it on, and required the electric company to reconfigure the substation. Therefore, there was a full power down of the site. We shut down switches and servers, office machines and desktops. Photocopiers shut down cleanly, the full 9 yards. We pulled a bit of overtime as the power would be out for the weekend for the electric company to complete their work. There were a few things we couldn't live without, namely security systems and power for the kitchen freezers. Therefore, a generator was to be installed. Friday afternoon it arrives, and the technician is in the power distribution room with some chonky snecks plugging them into the building's main feed. He finishes up, we finish up, we go home for the weekend. Monday morning comes around and the chef is in a panic. He's loading food into the freezers and picking up deliveries, getting ready for the week ahead. The bins are full of old frozen food, and I can't help but wonder why. Turns out, when the electric company plugged the generator in, they hooked it up the wrong... Oh my god. Turns out when the electric company plugged the generator in, they hooked it up to the wrong circuit. Our conference rooms were a lovely air-conditioned 19 degrees Celsius, but all the food had defrosted. All 5,000 pounds worth. That was covered by insurance too. Yeah, there's a lot of contractors out there that win bids purely on the lowest price bid, and they shouldn't have got the job. I know you got to watch the money you're spending in your budget and everything, but you also have to look at how did they bid the job. Just because they're the lowest price doesn't mean they're qualified to do the job. But all the other kids have silver ones. I've just picked up a ticket, something along the lines of, I need a new laptop ASAP. The screen's gone fuzzy and isn't as sharp as colleagues with newer equipment. Contact via IM. Me. Hi, I'm from IT. Are you able to elaborate on the issues you're having with your laptop? Manager. All the other managers have silver ones and mine is an old gray one. Me. The silver ones are the latest generation. They were replaced with the gray ones like the one you have. Manager. Can't you just swap mine for a nice silver one? Me. Note for future equipment refreshes. Laptops must be shiny, otherwise we'll never convince users that they're better than the ones they already have. Yeah, everybody wants the new shiny looking things, even if they're the old, clunky, out-of-date things. Amazing. Well guys, that's it for this edition. Going to get back to camping, trying to get off the Wi-Fi hotspot here and see how this video turned out. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do me a favor, leave a like. Maybe subscribe to the channel and click that little bell icon so you don't miss the fat guy with the beard telling you stories. See ya.